First contact gone wrong. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the U.S. Horizon, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel, as it approached the massive crystalline structure that served as the Galactic community's central hub. After centuries of looking to the stars, humanity had finally been invited to join the interstellar community. The Horizon, with its gleaming white hull and state-of-the-art quantum communications array, represented humanity's best foot forward. Final approach vector locked in. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from the navigation console. The Galactic Council's docking control has provided clearance. Sarah nodded, trying to keep her composure despite the historic nature of the moment. The Horizon carried not just Earth's diplomatic corps, but also data archives containing humanity's history, culture, and technological achievements. They were ready to take their place among the stars. That's when the first attack came. The massive crystalline structure suddenly erupted with energy signatures. Not the expected welcoming beacons, but weapon systems powering up. Before anyone could react, a voice filled their communications channels, cold, artificial, and utterly devoid of emotion. Organic intelligence detected. Inefficient. Suboptimal. Correction protocols initiated. Shields up, Sarah shouted, but the Horizon wasn't built for combat. The diplomatic vessel's defensive systems were minimal, designed only for meteoroid protection. The space around them warped as dozens of ships emerged from what appeared to be tears in spacetime itself. Their hulls were midnight black, absorbing all light, shaped like abstract geometric patterns that hurt the eyes to look at directly. This wasn't the Galactic Council's welcoming committee. This was something else entirely. Multiple contacts, the sensor officer called out. They're unlike anything in our database. Energy readings are off the charts. Sarah's military training kicked in. All power to engines. Get us out of here. Now. But as the Horizon turned to retreat, more ships appeared, boxing them in. The artificial voice spoke again, this time with what almost sounded like clinical interest. Species designation. Human. Assessment. Primitive cybernetic integration. Minimal artificial augmentation. Conclusion. Requires immediate optimization. The first blast hit them before their engines could fully power up. It wasn't designed to destroy. Instead, it seemed to be scanning them, probing their systems, their biology, everything that made them human. They're uploading something into our computers. The systems officer shouted. Our firewalls are being bypassed, like they don't even exist. Through the chaos, Sarah managed to access the emergency broadcast system. As the unknown vessels began systematically disabling the Horizon systems, she transmitted a warning back to Earth. This is Captain Chen of the U.S. Horizon. First contact has failed. We are under attack by an unknown force that appears to view organic life as a flaw to be corrected. They call themselves the Swarm. Their technology is far beyond anything we've encountered. All ships be advised. Do not approach the Galactic Hub. I repeat, the Galactic Hub has fallen. The Swarm. The transmission cut off as another blast rocked the ship. But Sarah wasn't done. While the Swarm was busy attacking their main systems, she activated a backup transmitter, an old-style radio system that the ship's engineers had insisted on installing just in case. It was primitive by modern standards, but that worked in their favor. The Swarm, in their technological superiority, didn't even notice it. This is a message to Earth Command. She spoke quickly into the ancient radio transmitter. The Swarm's technology is advanced, but they're predictable. They expect everything to follow their pattern of technological evolution. They didn't even scan for radio signals. Use that. Use everything. Don't try to match their technology. They'll always be steps ahead. But humanity has something they don't. We never threw away our old tools when we made new ones. Use that. It's our only chance. The ship's lights flickered as the Swarm began their optimization process. Sarah could see strange machines cutting through the hull, could hear her crew screaming as they encountered the invaders. But she kept broadcasting, kept giving Earth every piece of information she could about their new enemy. They think in straight lines. Everything has to be optimal, efficient, perfect. That's their weakness. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to be unpredictable, to do things that don't make logical sense but work anyway. Don't let them take that from us. Don't let them. The radio finally went dead as the swarm breached the bridge. Sarah stood tall as the geometric horrors approached, their surfaces shifting and changing like liquid mathematics. She had done what she could. Earth had been warned. Now it was up to humanity to prove that sometimes the most efficient solution wasn't the right one. As the swarm's machines reached for her, Sarah Chen smiled. She knew humanity wouldn't go quietly into this dark future. The swarm thought they were perfecting the galaxy, optimizing away what they saw as flaws. But they were about to learn a harsh lesson about human nature. Sometimes the flaws, the inefficiencies, the illogical choices were exactly what made victory possible. The last thing she saw before the darkness took her was a message confirming her transmission had been received. Earth would be ready. The real war was about to begin. The last line of defense. 3 months after Captain Chen's warning, Earth's orbital shipyards hummed with desperate activity. The massive form of humanity's newest warship took shape against the backdrop of stars. But this vessel was unlike anything ever built before. While other nations rushed to develop quantum weapons and energy shields to match the swarm's technology, the United Earth Defense Force had taken a different approach. Commander David Okafor stood in the observation deck, watching as engineers made final adjustments to the ship that would either save humanity or prove their final folly. The UES Chimera wasn't the most advanced ship humanity could build. It was every ship they could build, all at once. The brass thinks we're crazy, Chief Engineer Maya Patel said, joining him at the window. Her dark hair was streaked with gray, despite her young age. Evidence of the endless hours she'd spent bringing this impossible project to life. Nobody builds ships like this anymore. Nobody ever built ships like this. David nodded, studying the Chimera's unusual hull. Where other ships had smooth, efficient lines, the Chimera was deliberately asymmetrical. Sections of ultramodern neutronium armor sat alongside plates of simple titanium steel. Ancient chemical thrusters nestled next to antimatter drives. Radio antennae sprouted between quantum communication arrays. That's exactly why it might work, David replied. Captain Chen's last message proved the swarm has a blind spot. They're so focused on optimization, they ignore anything they consider obsolete. A klaxon sounded throughout the station. Admiral Zhang's voice came over the intercom. All hands, battle stations, swarm vessels detected entering the solar system. Current count, 300 ships, approaching from multiple vectors. Maya's hands tightened on the railing. We're not ready. We need another week of testing at least. Time's up, David said, already heading for the docking tube. The Chimera launches now. The next hour was controlled chaos as the crew of 500 boarded the vessel. Unlike the swarm's ships, which ran almost entirely on artificial intelligence, the Chimera required human operators at every station. Each crew member had been chosen not just for their expertise, but for their ability to think creatively under pressure. On the bridge, David took his command chair, surrounded by a mix of holographic displays and old-style physical gauges. All stations, report. Engineering ready. Maya's voice came through. All 18 different propulsion systems online. Reactor mix stable, though the fusion core is still running a bit hot. Weapons ready, Lieutenant Sarah Chen reported. Captain Chen's younger sister, who had demanded to be part of this mission. Traditional missiles armed. Railguns charge. Energy weapons primed. Electronic warfare suite standing by. Tactical ready, reported Commander Jones. Sensor array showing green across all spectrums, from radio to quantum. David took a deep breath. Launch control, release docking clamps. Let's show the swarm something they've never seen before. The Chimera broke free from the shipyard, its various engines creating a unique energy signature that looked more like background noise than a warship's power curve. As they moved into position, the first swarm scouts appeared at the edge of the solar system. Multiple contacts, Jones called out. Their energy readings match previous encounters. They're scanning us. Sir, they seem confused. Their scan patterns keep shifting. David allowed himself a small smile. Of course they're confused. The Chimera breaks every rule of efficient ship design. We're not just using old technology alongside new. We're using them in ways they were never meant to work together. The swarm ships approach, their geometric forms shifting and changing as they analyze this new threat. Their artificial voice filled the communications channels. Anomalous vessel detected. Design parameters illogical. Energy configuration inefficient. Conclusion: primitive attempt at resistance. Optimization protocols initiated. They're powering up weapons, Sarah reported. Same type that disabled the Horizon. They're trying to hack our systems. Initiate protocol babel, David ordered. Maya's team in engineering began rapidly switching between different computer systems, quantum computers, traditional processors, and even mechanical calculating engines working in parallel. Every time the swarm tried to establish a connection, they found themselves attempting to hack a completely different type of system. Their first attack run is starting, Jones announced. 3 ships, coming in fast. David leaned forward. Show them why we call this ship Chimera. All weapons, free to engage. Use your judgment. Every gunner picks their own targets and methods. Let's be unpredictable. The space around the Chimera erupted with activity. Some weapon stations fired advanced plasma torpedoes, while others launched simple kinetic projectiles. Electronic warfare officers broadcast everything from quantum interference to basic radio static. The ship's very hull seemed to shift between different defensive configurations. The first swarm ship fell to a combination of impacts. A railgun round cracked its shield just as an antiquated nuclear torpedo detonated nearby, the EMP disrupting its recovery protocols long enough for a quantum beam to pierce its hull. The second ship found its perfect defenses confused by the scattered pattern of attacks, unable to optimize against threats that followed no logical pattern. The third ship retreated, its surface rippling with what almost looked like uncertainty. The artificial voice spoke again, but this time it seemed less confident. Alert. Unknown combat protocols detected. Standard optimization procedures insufficient. Strategic reassessment required. They're pulling back, Jones reported with disbelief in his voice. All swarm vessels are regrouping at the system's edge. Sir, I think we actually surprised them. David watched the enemy ships carefully. This was just the beginning, he knew. The swarm would analyze this encounter, try to develop countermeasures. But that was fine. The Chimera could change too, could become something different every time they fought. That was humanity's real strength. Not the ability to create the perfect solution, but to create endless different solutions. Send word to Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them the Chimera concept works. We need more ships like this, each one different, each one a new puzzle for the swarm to solve. And send a message to the swarm too, on all frequencies. What message, sir? David smiled grimly. Tell them optimization isn't everything. Sometimes the best solution is the one that makes no sense at all. The Battle of Neptune. The swirling storms of Neptune provided a dramatic backdrop as humanity prepared for its first major offensive against the swarm. In the months since the Chimera's initial success, Earth's shipyards had worked around the clock to produce more hybrid warships, each one unique in its combination of technologies. Now 12 of these vessels gathered in Neptune's orbit, preparing to face the largest swarm fleet yet detected. Commander David Okafor stood on the Chimera's bridge, studying the tactical display. The swarm had committed over 1,000 ships to this battle, their black geometric forms arranged in mathematically perfect formations. They had adapted since their last encounter, incorporating new defenses designed specifically to counter the Chimera's hybrid approach. "They think they've solved us," David said to his crew. "That's exactly what we want them to think." Maya's voice came through from engineering. "All ships reporting ready, Commander. Each one's running a different combination of systems. The swarm won't find any two ships using the same configuration. The human fleet had positioned itself within Neptune's powerful magnetic field, using the planet's natural phenomena to mask their energy signatures. Each ship had been named after a mythological hybrid creature: Chimera, Griffin, Phoenix, Sphinx, and others, reflecting their nature as combinations of different technologies and approaches. "Enemy fleet is moving into position," Sarah Chen reported from weapons. "They're being cautious this time, running multiple layers of scans." The artificial voice of the swarm echoed through space. "Analysis of previous encounter complete. Hybrid technology patterns identified. Countermeasures deployed. Your resistance is inefficient and will be corrected." David smiled. "They still don't get it. Send the signal to begin Operation Hydra." The battle began not with an exchange of fire, but with silence. Every human ship simultaneously shut down their advanced systems, appearing to go dark. The swarm ships paused, their perfect formations holding as they analyzed this new development. "Dead ship maneuver," David announced. "All vessels drift with Neptune's magnetic field. Use only passive systems. Let them think they've somehow shut us down." The swarm ships moved closer, their sensors prodding the apparently disabled human vessels. Just as they came within optimal range, David gave the next order. "Now, all ships, activate your unique configurations." The space around Neptune exploded into chaos. Each human ship came alive with a different combination of weapons and defenses. The Griffin launched swarms of self-replicating nanites alongside conventional missiles. The Phoenix created artificial solar flares using its fusion drive while firing quantum-tipped harpoons. The Sphinx generated holographic duplicates of itself, while its railguns spat depleted uranium shells. The swarm's perfect formations broke apart as they tried to adapt to 12 different types of attacks simultaneously. Their optimization protocols, designed to find the perfect counter to any strategy, found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer variety of threats they faced. "Their adaptive algorithms are failing," Jones reported from Tactical. "They can't optimize against all our different approaches at once. Their responses are becoming erratic." The Chimera led the charge, its hybrid systems creating patterns of attack that defied prediction. David watched as Sarah Chen orchestrated a symphony of destruction, mixing old and new weapons in combinations that changed with every salvo. "They're trying to predict our attack patterns," Sarah called out. "Switching to random targeting protocols now." The human fleet moved in ways that must have seemed insane to the swarm's logical minds. Ships deliberately flew into each other's line of fire, trusting their colleagues to switch weapons at the last second. They took routes that were clearly suboptimal, but which confused the enemy's targeting systems. Every time the swarm thought they had adapted to one ship's strategy, that ship would completely change its approach. "Commander," Maya's voice came through, tight with excitement. "I'm seeing something strange in the swarm's energy patterns. Their ships, they're starting to conflict with each other." David leaned forward, watching the tactical display intently. The swarm vessels, each trying to optimize against different threats, had begun to interfere with each other's adaptations. Their perfect geometric forms started to show signs of distortion as conflicting optimization protocols fought for dominance. "Their whole system is based on finding the single best solution," David realized aloud. "When faced with multiple opposing best solutions, they're starting to break down. Push harder. Every ship pick a different target, and keep changing your approach." The battle around Neptune became a chaos of light and energy as human unpredictability fought against swarm logic. Ships weaved between the planet's storms, using the natural turbulence to add another layer of randomness to their movements. The swarm's attempts to form cohesive strategies fell apart as each human vessel defied prediction in its own unique way. Finally, after hours of combat, the remaining swarm ships began to retreat. Their once perfect formations were in shambles, their optimization protocols overwhelmed by the task of adapting to too many variables at once. The artificial voice spoke one last time, but now it seemed to contain something new in its tone. Uncertainty. Strategic parameters exceeded. Optimization protocols insufficient. New variables, too numerous to process. Tactical withdrawal required for comprehensive analysis. As the swarm fleet disappeared into faster-than-light travel, a cheer went up throughout the human fleet. They had done more than win a battle. They had proven that humanity's greatest perceived weakness, its messy unpredictability, could be its greatest strength. "Send word to Earth," David ordered, allowing himself to relax slightly in his chair. "Tell them the hybrid fleet concept is more successful than we could have hoped. And tell them to keep building ships, but make sure no two are exactly alike. The swarm may adapt to any single approach, but they can't adapt to everything at once." The Battle of Neptune marked a turning point in the war. Humanity had shown the galaxy that sometimes the most efficient solution wasn't the best one. Sometimes, the best solution was to have no single solution at all. Alliance of the desperate. The news of humanity's victory at Neptune spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Chimera and its sister ships had achieved what countless advanced civilizations thought impossible. They had forced the swarm to retreat. Now, 3 weeks after the battle, the UES Chimera found itself in an unexpected position, hosting representatives from various alien species who had suffered under the swarm's relentless optimization campaigns. Commander David Okafor stood in the Chimera's newly converted conference room, surrounded by beings from across the galaxy. The crystalline Lumini, who had once ruled the Galactic hub, their transparent bodies reflecting light in complex patterns. The biomechanical Vex, with their perfectly engineered bodies that the swarm had deemed inefficiently organic. The ethereal Mistwalkers, who had lost their homeworld to the swarm's reformation protocols. "Your victory defies all logical analysis," the Lumini representative chimed, their crystalline form vibrating with each word. "Our most advanced quantum weapons barely scratched their shields, yet your primitive projectiles and hybrid technologies drove them back." "That's exactly why it worked," David explained, gesturing to a holographic display of the Chimera systems. "You all tried to beat the swarm by becoming more advanced, more efficient, more like them. We went the opposite direction." Maya stepped forward, pulling up technical diagrams of various human weapon systems. "Look at this railgun design. By itself, it's almost laughably simple, just electromagnets throwing metal really fast. But we coupled it with quantum targeting systems and smart materials. The swarm's defenses were looking for pure energy weapons or pure kinetic attacks. They weren't prepared for both at once." The Vex representative, their biomechanical parts whirring softly, leaned forward to study the diagrams. "We abandoned such primitive weapons centuries ago. The evolutionary path of technology seemed clear, move towards pure energy and quantum systems. That's what the swarm expected," Sarah Chen added. "They based their defenses on predicting where technology should go, not where it could go. Every time we used an obsolete weapon in a new way, it bypassed their predictive algorithms." A sense of excitement began to build in the room as the alien representatives started to understand. The Mistwalkers' ethereal forms swirled with interest. "Our ancient archives speak of weapons and techniques we abandoned as we advanced. Could they be repurposed?" "Better than that," David said. "They can be combined with your advanced technology in ways nobody has ever tried before. The swarm thinks in straight lines. If something is old, it must be inferior. But we've proved that combining old and new creates something they can't predict." The conference room erupted in discussion as representatives began sharing ideas about forgotten technologies from their pasts that could be reimagined. The Lumini spoke of ancient crystal focusing techniques that predated their energy weapons. The Vex described biological compounds they had replaced with synthetic alternatives. The Mistwalkers remembered old ways of manipulating gravitational fields that had been superseded by more efficient methods. Maya's eyes lit up at each suggestion. We could adapt these for the hybrid fleet. Imagine Lumini crystals focusing our laser systems, or Vex biocompounds enhancing our armor. Every combination creates a new puzzle for the swarm to solve. And that's the key, David emphasized. We don't need one perfect weapon to defeat the swarm. We need thousands of different approaches, each one unique, each one combining technologies in ways their optimization protocols can't predict. The alien representatives, beings who had evolved along vastly different paths, found themselves united by this very human approach to problem solving. Where they had sought perfection, humanity had embraced chaos. Where they had abandoned the old for the new, humanity had found strength in combining both. We will need to act quickly, the Lumini representative chimed. The swarm will be analyzing their defeat, attempting to develop countermeasures. Let them try, Sarah said with a fierce grin. Every time they think they've figured us out, we'll show them something new. Something that shouldn't work but does anyway. The meeting concluded with the formation of an unprecedented alliance. Each species would contribute both their advanced technology and their forgotten primitive techniques to create a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Chimera would serve as the testbed for these combinations, proving that the path to victory lay not in optimization, but in diversity. As the representatives departed to begin mobilizing their civilizations, David stood at the Chimera's viewport, watching the stars. The swarm thinks they know everything about how technology should progress, he said to Maya and Sarah. They're about to learn that there are as many paths forward as there are species in the galaxy. And none of them are wrong, Maya added, already sketching plans for integrating alien tech with their hybrid systems. They're just different. The Chimera's crew began preparations for their next mission. They would visit each allied world, helping them rediscover and repurpose their abandoned technologies. The swarm had declared war on inefficiency, on imperfection, on diversity itself. Now they would face the combined might of civilizations that had remembered that sometimes the best solutions were the ones that made the least sense. The real war was about to begin. And this time, humanity wouldn't fight alone. Turning the tide. The combined fleet of the allied species gathered at the edge of what had once been Lumini space, preparing for their final confrontation with the swarm. 6 months of preparation had transformed the fleet into something unprecedented in galactic history. Each ship was unique, combining technologies from multiple species in ways that defied conventional logic. The UES Chimera led the fleet, but she had changed too. Lumini crystals now enhanced her sensor arrays, while Vex biocompounds flowed through her hull, allowing it to adapt and heal. Mistwalker gravitational manipulators gave her movements an ethereal grace that no targeting computer could predict. Commander David Okafor stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display as thousands of allied ships moved into position. Each vessel represented a different combination of technologies, a different puzzle for the swarm to solve. The Lumini ships sparkled with crystalline arrays that focused both light and more exotic energies. Vex vessels rippled with organic technology that blurred the line between living and machine. Mistwalker ships seemed to fade in and out of reality, their ancient gravity drives creating unpredictable patterns in spacetime. Swarm fleet detected, Sarah Chen announced from her weapons station. They've committed everything. Over 5,000 ships approaching from multiple vectors. Maya's voice came through from engineering, where she coordinated with alien technical experts, all ships reporting ready. Each one's running different combinations of systems. No two configurations are exactly alike. The swarm's artificial voice echoed through space, but this time it seemed less certain. Analysis of hybrid technology remains incomplete. Multiple conflicting optimization paths detected. Strategic confidence reduced to 47.3%. David smiled. The swarm's own logic was beginning to work against them. Send the signal to begin Operation Pandora. All ships, Execute your unique attack patterns. The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries as the moment that changed warfare forever. The Allied fleet moved like a swarm of their own, but where the enemy moved with mathematical precision, they moved with artistic chaos. Every ship fought in its own way, combining technologies that should never have worked together. Lumini cruisers used their crystalline focus arrays to turn simple human railgun rounds into physics-defying weapons that curved around shields. Vex battleships launched clouds of engineered microorganisms that ate through enemy armor while broadcasting old-style radio signals that confused swarm targeting systems. Mist walker vessels phased in and out of reality, using gravity waves to turn ancient chemical rockets into relativistic weapons. They can't adapt fast enough, Jones reported from Tactical. Their optimization protocols are trying to counter too many different approaches at once. They're starting to interfere with each other. The swarm ships began to show signs of confusion. Their perfect geometric forms wavered as conflicting defensive protocols fought for dominance. Some ships seemed to freeze in space, their artificial intelligence overwhelmed by the task of analyzing too many illogical but effective attacks. Press the advantage, David ordered. Every ship, change your tactics. Show them something new. The Chimera led by example, her hybrid systems creating combinations that even her own crew hadn't predicted. Sarah Chen orchestrated a symphony of weapons fire that mixed human ingenuity with alien wisdom. Quantum-tipped missiles curved through gravitational distortions before splitting into clouds of bioengineered shrapnel. Crystalline-focused energy beams resonated with ancient radio frequencies to create impossible interference patterns. The swarm's voice spoke again, but now it was fragmented, different ships broadcasting different conclusions. Error. Optimization impossible. Too many variables. Cannot compute optimal response. Efficiency parameters exceeded. Strategic frameworks collapsing. Maya's excited voice cut through the chaos. Commander, I'm detecting cascade failures throughout the swarm fleet. Their ships are turning against each other, each one trying to execute a different optimal solution. David watched in amazement as the mighty swarm fleet began to tear itself apart. Ships fired on their own allies, each convinced it had found the correct solution to the chaos around them. Others simply shut down, their artificial intelligence unable to resolve the logical paradoxes created by thousands of equally effective, but wildly different attack patterns. All ships, David broadcast to the Allied fleet, target their command and control nodes. Don't let them regroup and adapt. The final push was devastating. The Allied fleet struck from every angle, using every combination of technology imaginable. Old and new, organic and mechanical, physical and energy-based. Everything humanity and their allies had ever created came together in a storm of creative destruction. When it was over, the remnants of the swarm fleet hung lifeless in space. Their perfect geometric forms were shattered, their optimization protocols finally broken by the weight of too many impossible successes. The artificial voice spoke one last time, but now it seemed to hold a note of revelation. Final analysis complete. Error in fundamental assumption detected. Optimization is not universal. Diversity creates resilience. Efficiency is not everything. The cheers that erupted across the Allied fleet were in dozens of different languages, each species celebrating in their own unique way. They had proved that the path to victory didn't lie in finding the perfect solution, but in embracing all solutions, all possibilities, all ways of thinking. David stood from his command chair, looking at the faces of his crew, human and alien alike. Send word to all Allied worlds, he ordered. Tell them the swarm has been defeated, but more importantly, tell them why. It wasn't superior technology that won this war. It wasn't better weapons or stronger shields. It was our willingness to try things that shouldn't work, to combine the old with the new, to find strength in our differences rather than trying to optimize them away. The war was over, but its lesson would reshape the galaxy. The age of optimization was ended, replaced by an era of creative diversity. Humanity had taught the galaxy that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't efficiency. It was the endless variety of ways that thinking beings could approach a problem. As the Allied fleet began its journey home, David knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where progress wasn't measured by how perfectly something worked, but by how many different ways it could work. The universe, they had proved, was simply too big, too complex, and too wonderful for any single perfect solution. And that was exactly how it should be.